Hello, my friends. Good Never Shabbos, happy Friday, followed by a beautiful, uplifting, and inspiring Shabbos Kodesh. But this Shabbos is going to be very different. Actually, this Shabbos isn't going to be any different, but it should be. You see, this Shabbos falls out on the 9th day of the Hebrew month of Av, the saddest day on the Hebrew calendar. On this day, on a regular week, on a regular year, we sit on the floor, we fast, we don't wear leather shoes, we cry, we say dirges known as kinos about all the horrible tragedies that have happened to the Jewish people over the millennia. Because this is the day that the first and second Batei Mikdashos, temples, were destroyed. And this is the day that all Jewish tragedy is centered on. All the dirges that we say in this day deal with not only the destruction of the temples, but the Holocaust, the Inquisition, the pogroms, the burning of the Talmud, centuries and centuries of Jewish pain, all has its center around this day and the destruction of both the first and the second temple. Interesting that tonight, instead of fasting, we're going to have a beautiful meal. Instead of dirges and sad poetry, we're going to be singing songs of praise to God and His Holy Shabbos. And then tomorrow, we're going to go to synagogue like we do on a regular Shabbos, and we're going to enjoy another meal and a third meal. Even something even more interesting that always gets to me. There's a book called Shulchan Aruch, which means the set table. It means the laws that we're supposed to do on a daily basis. Take out all the discussions of the Talmud, the back and forth, and get it down to the nitty gritty so people can open up and figure out, what am I supposed to do? And it just tells you what we're supposed to be doing when. Well, when it comes to the meals of this Shabbos, it says, Ma'ala al shulchano kishlomo melech b'sha'ato. You can put on your table like King Solomon did in his time. Very strange. What's with the poetry? Just tell me I can eat what I want. Just tell me I can eat Shabbos food. Why would, like Shlomo, King Shlomo, what is that about? And the answer is that on Shabbos, we are in the time of King Solomon, in the greatest of times, with the temple standing. What am I talking about? What was the temple that we lost? The temple was a conduit, a connection. A Jew would go to the temple, he would bring sacrifices, or he would watch the service going on with the Levites singing and the Kohanim bringing their sacrifices, and he would feel this closeness to God that he never felt before. And he would leave the temple encouraged. He would leave the temple feeling like a better person. He would leave the temple with new commitments about his Judaism and his dedication, because he felt closer to God just by being there. What is Shabbos? Shabbos is the one day a week that we stop everything and we spend the day focused on God, focused on the loving relationship that we have with God. Nice meals, singing, dressed up nicely. In other words, the Beis Hamikdash, the temple, was in an area. Today that area is called, and was called then, the Temple Mount. But today, that physical temple on the Temple Mount is in ruins. All that's left is the outer western wall, not of the temple itself, but of the Temple Mount. But there's another type of temple, another type of Beis Hamikdash, and that is the one in time. As I said before, what was the temple? A conduit to get closer to God. What is Shabbos? A period in time where there's a conduit every Friday night through Saturday night where we get closer to God. So why don't we fast tonight? Why don't we mourn tonight? And why do we call this, you can have a meal as great as Solomon? Because tonight, the temple isn't destroyed. It's there. It all depends on how we bring ourselves to it. Do we go into this temple? Do we make ourselves part of this temple? You can go into the physical temple and not feel anything. If you go into the physical temple in the time when the temple stood, somebody without feelings would walk in there and think they just went into a butcher store with all the meat and animals being slaughtered. But somebody with a sense of what spirituality is would go in there and be uplifted. When you experience a real Shabbos, you feel uplifted. You feel closer to God. And there are so many things we do on Shabbos that are allusions to the temple, because this is our temple. The Kohanim, the priests, have special clothes that they have to wear. They're not allowed to serve in anything else except for those special uniforms that they wear in the temple. We have special Shabbos clothes. Anybody who serves in the temple has to, at the very least, wash their hands and feet before serving. But then the rabbis enacted later that everybody has to go to a mikveh beforehand, which is a ritual bath, and then wash their hands and feet. It's interesting that the letter of the law is you got at the very least wash your hands, face, and feet before Shabbos. And then it's better if you take a shower. But then the rabbis instituted a custom that some people keep, which is going to a mikveh, the ritual bath, just like the Kohanim, the priests, did before going into the temple. In the temple, there was the menorah, the candelabra that was lit. The candelabra represented the spirit of Torah knowledge being spread throughout the world. Olive oil that was in the menorah represented Torah knowledge. Before Shabbos, every Jewish mother lights Shabbos candles. And when she does, many Jewish mothers pray for their children to become Torah scholars. Again, the overlap. It's too obvious. In the temple, there were sacrifices brought on the altar, on the Mizbeach. On Shabbos, we have beautiful meals that are brought on the table. In the temple, there were chalos, there were loaves of bread that sat on a table in front of the Holy of Holies. 12 loaves of bread. On Shabbos, we have 2 per meal. 3 meals. If you cut both of them at each meal, count up the pieces, comes out to 4 pieces per meal times 3, 12 loaves of bread. And some great rabbis who are into the mystic parts of Torah, the Kabbalists, they actually have 12 loaves of bread at each meal. When we come home, Tradition tells us that we're escorted by 2 angels and we sing a song to them, Shalom Aleichem, greetings. Boachem l'shalom, welcome. Baruchoni l'shalom, give me your blessing. And then we say something very rude, at least seemingly on the surface. We say Tzeiskom l'shalom, go in peace. We didn't even start the meal yet. What is that? Because when the Kohen Gadol, the high priest of the Jewish people, on Yom Kippur, he goes into the Holy of Holies. And when he's in there, the Torah tells us that no one can be there with him. No other man and no other being whatsoever. He has to be alone. When a person is with his family on Friday nights, he begins his meal by saying Kiddush, by sanctifying God's name over a cup of wine, and he begins his Shabbos Suda. It was very nice. Thank you to these angels that escorted me home. Please give me your blessing before you leave, but I'm sorry. Friday night, it's me and God time. It's me and God time. We're in the Holy of Holies. The Beis Mikdash is not destroyed on Friday night. Now here's one more point. We're told that if the Jewish people would keep just one Shabbos, there was a song, just one Shabbos and we'll all be free. If the Jewish people would keep just one Shabbos, all of us, Mashiach would come immediately and God would rebuild the third temple. So I was wondering, what does one thing have to do with the other? Simple answer. If we appreciate God's temple in time, God will return his temple in space. Have a beautiful, beautiful Shabbos.